Most people hear the name Joseph Stalin and immediately think, that was one evil son of a gun. But if you ask them what actually happened in the Soviet Union while he was in power, most folks couldn't tell you much beyond a movie villain with a big mustache. Here's the part people don't usually hear. During Stalin's rule, life expectancy went from 32 to 68. That's the kind of turnaround where the coffin maker has to learn a second trade. Literacy went from about 30% to 98.5%. Before that, if a fella handed you a contract, your legal strategy was mostly squinting. A third of Soviet engineers and 79% of doctors were women. That's not even girl power anymore. That's more like, "Ma'am, can you please design this dam before lunch and also look at my rash?" Women in the ruling party went from 5% to 21%. Meanwhile, over in America, there were black and native women still saying, "Shoot, we'd settle for being allowed to vote first." Stalin dragged the USSR into heavy industry so fast the West looked over like, "Hold on now, we needed 300 years and a whole lot of stolen spices for that." Healthcare, education, and childcare stayed universal and improved over time. It's an interesting strategy. Beats the old medical philosophy of, well, good luck with that. They defeated Japanese imperialism in Asia and made Hitler say goodbye to life. That's the sort of character trait you want to put on a resume, right under works well under pressure. Cuba, China, Vietnam, South Africa. Many liberation movements stood on Soviet shoulders, which is helpful because imperialism is a tall fella. Turns out if you're fighting an empire, it's nice to know a guy with tanks. The whole idea of totalitarianism, that Stalin and Hitler were basically the same kind of evil, is a popular Western way of looking at history. Critics argue that it also serves another purpose, taking attention away from the darker side of Western liberalism. The twin monsters theory has always been a very convenient story. They're a lot easier than the inconvenient ones. For example, France talks a lot about liberty. Then you read about colonial Algeria, 10 million killed and an atomic bomb tested on their soil. That's the sort of thing that really hurts your chances of winning Neighbor of the Year. The British had concentration camps in South Africa. The Americans interned Japanese Americans. The Germans had colonial camps in Namibia. History has a lot of people saying, well, ours was different. In the end, Stalin was a European leader in a brutal European century. The difference was, he wasn't building an empire for shareholders or colonies for gentlemen in hats. So naturally, history class tells you he was uniquely evil. That's how you know the property owners wrote the textbook. Stalin's great crime was trying to build socialism while every capitalist power around him tried everything they could do to have the socialist project die in its crib. And if there's one thing Western liberals hate more than violence, it's violence that doesn't send dividends back home. That, more than anything, is why the West never forgave him. Consider subscribing if you liked the video.